Hello, welcome back to another FPL video. I hope everyone is doing well. We've had an interesting game week 34 so far, but today we're going to be taking a look ahead to the double game week 35, the last double game week of this season, and taking a look at those players who could be considered as essential for this double game week, the solid picks and those stinkers to avoid. If you are new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for daily FPL content. Hit the like button if you do enjoy the video. Well, without further ado, let's get straight on into this one. So the first team we are looking at is Everton. They do play against West Ham and Aston Villa in the double game. We got the avoid players here to start with. That is Pickford, Mina and James Rodriguez. Now the thing is with Pickford, he's just been rotated around quite a lot this season. Carlo Ancelotti not really sure who his kind of first choice goalkeeper is. Of late it has been Pickford. Not kind of the best defensive fixtures, definitely not the worst, and he could pick up some save points, but for now I think there are other goalkeepers that do look better for this double game. You've got Yerry Mina in there as well. You know, on his day is a good defender, but in a minute looks like he's picked up some kind of injury and will be out. And James Rodriguez the same, could do very well this double game week. However, I do think that he is a bit of a trap, especially with the fact that he has got some kind of injury, some kind of niggle where it could keep him out for one of the kind of two of the games. So for me, it's definitely an avoid for James Rodriguez. Obviously on his day he could be a solid pick, but for now, for this game week, it is an avoid. Then we move on into the solid picks. Gylfi Sigurdsson on there at the start. Now with Gylfi Sigurdsson, he's not kind of the best option for me. He's more just a player who, if you really want a punt, he could be a great differential. He's picked up some goals this season and is on penalties when he does start, so that is also a massive bonus. And yeah, obviously after that, Everton are one of those teams that do play in game week 36 as well, and that game week 36 fixture is against Sheffield United. So if you're bringing in an Everton player for the double, you're also looking after that game. 36 they play Sheffield United, 37 they play Wolves, so you're looking very tidy for those weeks as well. Then we have a look at Luca Digne as well. Solid pick, I'd go for another. The big shame for him this season is he'd have a lot more points had Everton been able to keep clean sheets, and obviously as a defender the clean sheets come first. He's picked up plenty of assists, as we saw in the Aston Villa game. He picked up an assist and gotten the 3 bonus points as well, so it's all there kind of set up for him to haul. He's basically playing left wing, bombing down that wing, so if they can pick up a clean sheet, then Digne could be a really good option. It's been unfortunate for his season that they've not been able to do so. Then we've got Richarlison finally there at the end as another solid pick. Carlo Ancelotti now playing Richarlison through the middle rather than out on the wing, and he's really kind of benefiting from that. We saw him going a little spell, picking up some goals, and the thing with Richarlison is when he picks up the goals, he loves to pick up the bonus points as well. A little bit contrary to the main man, the essential pick of this team, DCL, but DCL is their main man up front, the one who's going to be picking up the points. And I did say he doesn't like picking up the bonus points, but in Aston Villa, he only scored 1 goal. They lost the game 2-1. He still picked up 2 bonus points. So maybe DCL's turning a corner in the kind of bonus point system. But yeah, DCL, I think essential wise, he's not kind of, essential, but ownership wise, he will be quite highly owned for this double game week. So I do think, if he does do well, he could really hurt your rank if you don't own him. And as I say, Everton have really good fixtures afterwards. So, if you're bringing in Calvert-Lewin, who's only now 7.5 million, he's dropped quite a bit in that price, then he's also got really nice fixtures after the double game week. So I do think Calvert-Lewin looks like a good pick, and especially the sides they are playing against West Ham, they're looking quite defensively poor at the minute without Declan Rice. If Declan Rice is back for this game, they could look a bit better. They've also have Cresswell out as well, and they're playing against an Aston Villa side who also look quite poor defensively. They did just play against them and lose, but they're going to want their revenge. It's weird to see two teams kind of playing each other in the same season within the space of like a week, 2 weeks. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and we'll see how they fare. Then we move on into Manchester United. Now, it'll be interesting to see with United when the Liverpool game does get rescheduled, because if it does get rescheduled, as many people are predicting, to game week 36, then Manchester United will have a double game week 35, and then they'll play in game week 36. They won't be blanking, and I think that'll make Manchester United assets pretty unbelievable, to be honest with you. We start here with the avoids. I've gone with Harry Maguire firstly as a defender. Now, and this is not to say that Harry Maguire is kind of a really bad option. It's more just to say that I think there are other defensive options from that Manchester United side who we will come on to, who I think are better options. Then we've got Pogba and Cavani there as well, both just kind of rotation risks for me. On their day, they can absolutely smash it. You know, we've seen Cavani a few weeks back get a double point haul. We saw Pogba picking up a little bit consistent lately, getting a couple of 7-pointers and assists here or there, but we just don't know whether they are going to play. And in a double game week, you want players who are going to play, or at least a solid pick like Greenwood, who, you know, has been absolutely smashing it of late. He's got 2 double point hauls in the past 4 game weeks. And I think, you know, if you're going to go for someone for Manchester United as a bit of a punt, then Greenwood is your guy. You know, Pogba, Cavani and Greenwood all kind of fall into the similar category of kind of rotation risks. However, Greenwood is probably the most explosive, the most likely to get yourself a double point haul, which is why he kind of pips those two to the spot in the solid pick category. Then we've got Luke Shaw as well, and he's kind of one of those players I was mentioning before about being better than Harry Maguire. Shaw's always up there in terms of the bonus points. Even if they've conceded a goal, he's somehow still getting himself on the bonus points, and he's very likely to get himself an attacking return as well. You know, he's been very good for kind of assists this season when he has played. He's picked up a goal as well, so I think that Luke Shaw looks like a fine asset for this double game at Manchester United. Obviously playing against the likes of Aston Villa and Leicester. So, you know, probably not the best defensive fixtures, but to be fair to Manchester United, they have been quite good defensively. You know, towards the back end of this season, they've actually picked up some good defensive stats. And then especially going forward, it does look very, very good for them, which is why I think Marcus Rashford, you know, considering he is probably their main man behind Bruno in terms of an attacking sense, he's going to play week in, week out, and has been picking up that kind of striker role of late. I think Rashford could be a pretty good differential, at least I don't think as an overall perspective. I don't know, maybe he is an overall perspective differential. Differential tends to be below 10%, and Rashford is just over 10% owned. However, in your mini leagues, I think that he could be a big differential, as not many people, especially in my mini league, don't own Marcus Rashford, so he could be quite a good differential in that kind of respect. Then we move on into the essential, and the main man, Bruno Fernandes, is he essential? Now, he's not been kind of, you know, scoring many points of late, not been picking up too many assists, too many goals in the Europa League the other night in Roma. He absolutely smashed it, so maybe that's a little bit of forewarning to what he can potentially do in this double gaming. Personally, I'm very, very glad to own him. I think he's essential in the sense that if he does do well, his effective ownership is so high still that he will send your rank absolutely flying down, especially with the fact that many people are going to see this as a very good opportunity to captain him. He probably will be the most highly captained player of the double gaming 35. So if you don't own him, you could massively lose out. And especially if they end up having a gaming 36 as well, it looks really, really good for Bruno Fernandes and could easily go and picking up himself up plenty of points. Then we move on to Leicester City. Now with Leicester, I was kind of going through their team and I was looking up players to avoid, and I was thinking, you know what, there's not many players here, but I'm going to find some. And I've gone with Pereira here just because he's not been playing too often of late. You know, when he does play, he can be a fantastic option, but there are definitely other better options. Evans is in there just because of the slight injury kind of that he has picked up. Obviously, he's been absolutely smashing it of late. I think he's got 2 goals in the past 3 games. So Johnny Evans, you know, if he's fit and raring to play, then he could be a cracking option. I've just put Tielemans on the end there because Tielemans, you know, on his day, he can score a goal. But I think if you look over the past kind of 10 game weeks, is kind of just 2-3, 2-3, 2-3 for Tielemans. So I think I'd be going for one of the other Leicester assets. And as I say, when I looked at that Leicester team, I was thinking, who can I avoid? But also, there are so many good, solid picks, which is why I've not really picked out a kind of essential for Leicester, because I just think there are so many good tier players. If you're looking for a budget option, you can go with the likes of Luke Thomas or Iheanacho. Luke Thomas playing at the left wing-back position for around about 4.2, 4.3 million, so he looks like a cracking option if you're looking for the budget option. Obviously, Iheanacho there coming in at 6.3 million. He keeps on rising in ownership and keeps on rising in price, and he would probably be the only one who I consider anywhere near that kind of essentials bracket, because his ownership is kind of flying up, and coming in at 6.3 million offers unbelievable value and has just been scoring so many goals of late. He's been absolutely smashing. And then we also have Castagna, probably the best defensive asset for Leicester. The way he bombs forward, has picked up some goals, some assists lately. Leicester are playing against Newcastle and Manchester United, so against Newcastle, you know, you can definitely expect them to do something. Maybe from a defensive perspective, it's not the best fixtures because Newcastle have been looking quite good going forward of late, and obviously Manchester United, they can definitely score a fair few goals on their day. But from an attacking perspective, I do really like the looks of Leicester for this double game week. They are one of the teams that do a blank in the game week 36. So unless it's someone like Iheanacho, I may avoid kind of necessarily bringing them in. But definitely, if you've got the likes of Vardy, Castan, even Schmeichel, Maddison, I'd definitely be holding on to them. Maddison, you know, he hasn't been picking up too many attacking returns of late, but he looks really, really dangerous and definitely can get himself some attacking returns over the double game week. So I think generally Leicester actually do look quite a good team for the double game week. And as you see there are so many good options for you to choose from. Then we move into Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace are a team that you probably wouldn't normally be looking towards to kind of bring in players in, but I'm putting them kind of higher up on the list to mention just because they have the best double game week by far out of any of the teams. They play against Sheffield United, then they play against Southampton. Two teams that have been struggling, especially defensively so far this season, so it could be really, really good for Crystal Palace attackers. In the avoid section, here we have Patrick Van Aanholt and Tyrick Mitchell. Now, Van Aanholt and Tyrick Mitchell obviously pick up at the same position, and this is more just be wary that Hodgson may decide to play Van Aanholt in one of the games, Mitchell in the other. I think that Van Aanholt is the better pick of the two, and I think that Mitchell did play in the previous game against Manchester City. However, it could have been more of a kind of defensive mindset, and Van Aanholt more likely to play as a kind of more attacking role in these two games. So Van Aanholt definitely has a much higher likelihood to haul across these two games. However, it's just kind of note to think that they may both kind of, get rotated. One may play one and one may play the other. So it's just something to consider. We have Milivojevic on the end there as well. Some people may be kind of looking at the Crystal Palace side and may have a little bit of an attachment to Milivojevic, as over the previous seasons he's actually been a decent FPL asset because he's always on penalties for Crystal Palace. And Palace last season, the season before that, were picking up plenty of penalties. And he was actually pushing a bit further up the pitch and getting himself some more open play returns. He now plays a much, much deeper role, and Palace aren't really getting any penalties. So it would be an avoid for Luka Milivojevic. And then we move on to the solid picks, and I think for Palace there are actually a fair few solid picks for this double game, mainly considering that they do have the best double game week out of any side. Ebere Eze comes in there. He's not been scoring too many goals or getting too many assists so far this season. He's picked up some decent stats, and more just kind of he's in there because of the absolutely superb goal that he scored against Sheffield United in the reverse fixture. I think that Eze looks like a cracking option for this double game week, and it is a very good differential as well. The same with Christian Benteke, a man that has been very up. Not too many ups, to be fair, mainly downs, but he scored a couple of nice goals, and of late he has been picking up a few goals, picking up a couple of bonus points as well. So for the double game, coming at 5.5 million, he could be a very, very good differential to send you up the ranks. And then the player that I think could easily go and score the most points for Crystal Palace this game is Vicente Guaita. Now, he loves to pick up some save points. He makes so many saves, saved Crystal Palace so many times in the games this season, and obviously against Southampton and Sheffield United, you can see them picking up at least one clean sheet out of the two games. And if they pick up a clean sheet, he's going to get some save points and some bonus points, so you could easily see him going and getting himself a double point haul. Now, that being said, I think that the next man is Wilfried Zaha. I think he's going to absolutely smash it this game week. He's not, I wouldn't say essential. I put him in the essentials category more because I just think he's a tier above any of the other Crystal Palace assets. I'm not saying that he is completely essential for this game week. As I said, I just think he's a much, much better asset than the rest of the Crystal Palace assets. And yeah, Zaha picking up 10 goals so far this season. He's having an okay season, was injured for a decent part of it. But personally, I'm looking at captaining him, to be honest. I think that he could actually absolutely pop off in this game, especially against Sheffield United, who look really, really poor defensively against Spurs. They've just completely lost their heads. They're not really seeing any kind of bounce back from the kind of, when teams get confirmed relegation, you actually see them play with a bit more freedom. Against Spurs, they look really, really poor, leaving so much space behind that I think Wilfried Zaha could really take advantage of and could have a very, very good double game week. Then we move on in to Chelsea, who play against Manchester City and Arsenal. They probably have the hardest double game week out of any side. In the avoid category here, we have Timo Werner, Alonso, and Kai Havertz. Timo Werner just missing so many opportunities. And I just think for 9.5 million, although I've kind of been saying so far this season, it's the back end of the season, just get the players in who you think are going to score points, and I stand by that. But against Manchester City and Arsenal, Werner's not going to be getting many opportunities, not as many as he has been in previous weeks, and he's still bottling a lot of those opportunities. So Werner is definitely an avoid for me. Alonso is now kind of seemingly the second string or playing second fiddle to Chilwell, so he may play one of the games, he may not play any of the games. Chilwell, I think, likely actually to play both of the games because they are quite big games for Chelsea against Manchester City and against Arsenal. And Kai Havertz coming now. I think he's a better option than Timo Werner, but still only just and would still be an avoid for me, especially with the fact that Chelsea do blank in game week 36 as well. Having two really poor fixtures just doesn't really bode well for their assets. In the solid pick section, we come first to Mason Mount, who's just been a cracking Chelsea player so far this season on penalties when Jorginho doesn't play. And as the Mason Mount looks good. He's good for the bonus points as well. Even if he picks up an assist, he seems to get himself in and about those bonus points. Azpilicueta, obviously getting benched against Fulham in preparation for the Champions League game. I do think he will play in both of these games though. However, just because against Manchester City, they're going to play their best side. And it's Arsenal, they probably would as well because they are two very important games. And Pulisic is kind of, for me, on top of Werner and Havertz in the kind of likelihood to score goals. I still just think he looks very dangerous. Maybe there's a little bit of a bias there towards kind of watching him play last season, how well he was doing towards the back end of last season. But for me, Pulisic is the most kind of explosive out of all those three and would be the one, if you wanted to punt on a Chelsea player, that I'd be willing to punt on. In terms of essentials, I've not really put anyone in here, more just because, as I say, the fixtures for Chelsea in this double game week are really poor, and especially with the fact that they don't have a game week 36, if you have a Chelsea asset, I think perfectly fine to hold on to them, especially the likes of Mount and Azpilicueta, but I don't think I'd really be looking towards bringing any Chelsea assets in personally. Then we move on into Aston Villa, and I think most of their team for me is actually an avoid. They play against Manchester United and Everton, definitely two kind of not good defensive fixtures, which is why, as you can see here, that I put Tyrone Mings and Ezri Konsa in there at the back. You know, two players who've had pretty good seasons, to be honest, in Aston Villa, a side that have, for the majority of this season, been quite good defensively. However, of late, they've really been kind of slacking. They haven't picked up a clean sheet in, I think, 7-8 games, so it's not looking particularly good. Barkley kind of takes up that midfielder spot, so I really don't think that any of the midfielders for Aston Villa are looking particularly good. You can maybe make an argument for Anwar El Ghazi just because he is on penalties when he does play, but there's still a bit of a rotation risk for El Ghazi there as well, and obviously Barkley, a lot of rotation risk there for him. In terms of solid picks for Aston Villa, you know, Martinez, for me, he's a solid pick. You know, if you have him, he's more here because if you have him, I don't think it's worth getting rid of him. I definitely don't think I'd be bringing him in for this double game, but this is more just to say for those of you who do own him, myself included, I don't think I'm going to be taking him out for this double game, especially with the fact that Aston Villa do play in game week 36 as well. It kind of, you know, it bodes well for at least having their assets, not necessarily bring them in, but holding on to their assets. And to be fair, there's one man who I would consider bringing in, and that is Ollie Watkins. Now, he's in the essential, kind of similarly to Zaha, because I just think he's a much better asset than any of the other Aston Villa players. I think now he's on about 30% ownership, so, you know, maybe considering him as essential because your rank definitely will be hurt if he does score some goals. And to be fair to him, I think in the past 4 or 5 game weeks, he's returned in every single one, you know, picking up a goal against Everton, then he had an assist the week before that, and then a goal against, I think, Liverpool and Fulham the weeks before that. So he has been doing very well of late, and I think, yeah, he could easily go and score against Manchester United, easily go and score against Everton again. Then after that, playing against Crystal Palace, it bodes quite well for Ollie Watkins. And to be fair, you know, against Tottenham in 37, you can see him scoring, and maybe Chelsea will be quite a tough game for them. But Ollie Watkins, I definitely don't think is a bad option at all from Aston Villa, but just the rest of them, I probably would say are avoids. Then we move on into Arsenal, who play against West Brom and Chelsea in game week 35, and then they blank in game week 36. So for me, for Arsenal, avoid. We're going to go with Martin Odegaard, Lacazette, and Holding. Now, Holding for me is just a representation of basically the whole Arsenal defence. We don't really know who's going to play. Arteta's doing a lot of rotation in that back line. Even David Luiz, kind of, you know, when he's fit, you think, oh, you know, he's their best defender. He'll be playing every week, but nope, he seemingly doesn't. Even with their goalkeepers, Leno and Ryan, they're getting rotated about at the minute. So I think with Arsenal, I think I just stay away from the defence because we don't know who's going to play. With Lacazette, it's more just because he's been injured. Don't really know what's going on with him. A bit risky, you know, if he does come back, plays in that West Brom game, he could absolutely smash it. But for now, it's an avoid just because we don't really know what's going on with the injury. With Odegaard, just another massive rotation. With him and Smith Rowe, we kind of rotated about quite a lot so far this season, or at least since Odegaard has come in, they've been rotating those two around quite a bit. So for me, Odegaard would definitely be an avoid. In terms of solid picks for Arsenal, Saka looks like an absolute baller. To be fair though, he is another one who is at a bit of rotation risk. I think a little bit less than the likes of Odegaard and the defenders, just because Saka, absolutely balling out. To be fair, Pepe has been smashing of late, picking up some penalties, picking up some goals here and there. So Pepe doesn't look like too bad of an option, but still, I think a little bit too risky. I think the fact that Saka comes in at kind of 5.3 million, 5.2 million offers some really good value for money. And then obviously the explosive man up front, the main man, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, I'll quickly show you here, there is no essential players for Arsenal that I do think. Now, Aubameyang, in normal times would be in that category. But just because he's been missing a lot of fixtures of late, he's been rotated, obviously had malaria for a bit. I don't think I can quite put him in that category yet, just because, although he had that really, really good game at the weekend against Newcastle, getting the double point haul, he still could then go and get rotated against West Brom, considering as well that he probably will definitely be playing midweek in the fixture against Villarreal. So I think for now, Aubameyang definitely a solid pick and a player you can consider, but not in the essentials category. And then finally, coming on to Southampton, a team that playing against Liverpool and Crystal Palace in the double game week. Actually play against Fulham in game week 36 and then Leeds in 37. So to be fair, I think Southampton actually don't look like too bad of a team in terms of assets to own. Although I will say that there's just no one from Southampton that really kind of, stands out and is like, I really, really want that player in my team. Obviously, I think that the defence for me for Southampton is just a complete and utter avoid. McCarthy, obviously, and him and Foster are getting rotated a lot, so I stay away from them. Their defence generally, the likes of, Benderak had a really, really good, start to the season. So did Vestergaard, Carl Walker-Peters as well. Those three were kind of at the top of the rankings at the start of the season. They've just really, really fallen off. Obviously, injuries have not helped that with that, especially in the midfield. Losing the likes of Romeo definitely has not helped them one bit, which is kind of why I put, the defenders as an avoid. Danny Ings obviously in there as well. When he's fit, I just kind of wanted to mention him because when he's fit, he is an unbelievable asset, But the main thing is that he genuinely is not fit. He's picked up a lot of injuries, and even when he's fit, there's a lot of rotation risk as well. So Danny Ings for this double game week, we don't really know what's going on with him, so I think he is definitely an avoid. And then moving on into the solid picks, I think Ward-Prowse is probably the one that stands out the most for me, just because he is on penalties now that Danny Ings is out of the team. That makes him a really, really good asset, considering Southampton have actually managed to pick themselves up a fair few penalties this season. Che Adams, now that some of the other kind of attackers are getting injured, Walcott's out, Gineppo's out, Minamino's out, I think Che Adams is going to see a lot more minutes and could actually do quite well in this kind of back end of the season. Armstrong as well has been seeing a lot more kind of full 90s of late and actually been picking up some attacking returns as well. So all three of those guys could be pretty decent, are actually quite budget options as well. I think Che Adams is down to something like 5.6, 5.7 million. So if you're looking to kind of, distribute a bit of money or devalue a bit of money in your attack, could bring in Che Adams so you can get someone a bit more expensive in the midfield. And obviously the essentials assets for Southampton, not really put anyone in there. I would say that kind of Ward-Prowse is the one that sticks out for me the most, although Che Adams and Armstrong definitely make their case, which is why they're all kind of on the same level. So I hope you have enjoyed this quick little look ahead to the double game week 35, the players who can be considered as essential, the solid picks, and the players to avoid. Let me know down in the comments any of the players that you are thinking of bringing in for this double game week. It's the last double game week of the season. I think the kind of last massive turning point of this season. There have been a lot of moments that can make or break the season, but this is kind of the last chance saloon for everyone to catch up on their rivals. Obviously, if you have enjoyed the video, hit that like button. And if you're new around here, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.